To start, let's go over every, and yes, I mean every match in this World Cup qualification campaign so far. China began their Road to 2026 campaign with an away game against Thailand. Despite going down early, the Dragon team rallied back and won the match thanks to Wu Lei's equalizer and Wang Shangyuan's late winner. If you'll remember though, my first ever video on the China national team lamented about how unconvincing this game was because it was. Outshot 17-7, only 37% possession and committing 17 fouls compared to Thailand's 5. Next was a home game against South Korea. And it wasn't even close. Zhu Chenjie concedes an early penalty which Sun Heung-min converts. Sun would score another off a corner before halftime and South Korea score a third late into the match. 3-0 defeat at home to South Korea. How lovely. Things would only get worse as on New Year's Day, China lost to Hong Kong. At home. 2 weeks before the Asian Cup. It was a sign of things to come. China was terrible in the Asian Cup, going winless, scoring 0 goals, and to top it off, Wu Lei missed this chance.
Emotional damage!
After that disaster, head coach Alexander Ivankovic was sacked, and despite questioning it at the time, in retrospect, it was the right decision. Like, the man played uber defensive football, which suited us, but I don't remember him trusting our youth all that much. Not to mention the strange decisions he made at the Asian Cup, such as benching Jiang Shenglong and Wei Shihao, 2 of our best players. In his place came Croatian Branko Ivankovic. Immediately, he would show his skill in the next qualifier against Singapore as Wu Lei scored 2 first-half goals. He also missed a penalty, but China were up 2-0 against a team ranked around 150th in FIFA. This should be a done-and-dusted win. However, Singapore pulled one back after Yan Junling's clownery with whatever this was. And then late into the match, Singapore equalized after further clownery from our backline who can't clear a ball to save their lives. That's right, Branko Ivankovic's debut and we couldn't even beat Singapore. This all led to some Hollywood-level drama when Captain Zhang Linpeng announced he would retire from the national team after the home match against Singapore. That's right, just when the team needed a leader to step up, our captain runs away. For the home game against Singapore, Branko dropped Zhang Linpeng and I think it was deserved. He also decided Yanjun Kepa's mistake was too much and dropped him for the backup keeper, Wang Dalei. Wu Lei would once again give us an early lead in this game, chipping the keeper, but because China and defending are like oil and water, they don't go together, Singapore equalized in just 1 minute. Thankfully, our attack bailed us out as China get a controversial penalty, it's blasted in by Fernandinho from Timu, and then China scored 2 more goals through Wu Lei and Wei Shihao. China secure an emphatic 4-1 win over Singapore, and funnily enough, after this game, Zhang Linpeng changed his mind about retiring. Buddy, do you have no shame? Thankfully, Branko was having none of it as Zhang Linpeng was never called up again. June came around and our first game was at home against Thailand. The task was simple, win this and we qualify for the 3rd round. So how did it go? If you need an example of how bad our defense is, look at this play. Only 2 players are chasing down the Thai counterattack. One of them is defender Zhu Chenjie, and the other player who actually blocks the shot is Wei Shihao, our attacking midfielder. The rest of the backline, where are they? The poor start for China continued as our statues in the box couldn't stop Thailand from scoring in the 20th minute. Luckily, Thailand conceded a penalty thanks to a ballet handball. But unluckily, Fernandinho from Timu skies it. This pattern continued as China just could not put anything in the back of the net until we finally equalized through Chinese Darwin Nunez. You pulled level guys, just 1 more goal now. I wish. China draw 1-1 with Thailand, which makes things far harder for us because to guarantee qualification, we now had to avoid losing to South Korea. If not, we had to make sure the loss was minimal to qualify through either goal difference or a head-to-head record against Thailand. Meanwhile, all Thailand had to do was win against Singapore by at least 3 goals. A team that had lost 4 and drawn 1. Who was the draw against? It's over. Branko was not done tormenting me, however, because in a must-not-lose game against South Korea, he benched Wu Lei. Why? Surprisingly, China's park-the-bus strategy actually worked for the most part. South Korea were held at bay for the entire first half, but because our players have terrible stamina, they eventually tire and South Korea finally score in the 61st minute through Lee Kang-in. China crawl away with a 1-0 loss and now had to rely on Singapore to hold off Thailand. The Thais were ruthless, peppering the Singaporeans and took the lead in the 37th minute. Surprisingly, Singapore equalized in the second half, while the Thais scored 2 more. But then, a miracle happens. No matter what the Thais threw at him, goalkeeper Hassan Sunny just would not concede another. 35 shots, and somehow he saved China. Thailand win 3-1, but being level with China on points, goal difference, and goals scored, China's advantage in the head-to-head record sends us through to the third round. By the skin of our teeth, we made it. The third round would not get any easier. We were drawn into a group of death with Bahrain, rising team Indonesia, Asian giants Saudi Arabia and Australia, and Japan. Oh no! Guess what? Our first game is against Japan. We all knew it was a lost cause and China was sure to lose, so I said before the game that if we kept it to just 3 or 4 goals, I'd be satisfied. Although, on the day of the match, CCTV refused to broadcast the game. Turns out, they knew something we didn't. Disaster doesn't even begin to describe the horrors I witnessed. Japan were absolutely ruthless. All 11 Chinese players went missing, 90 minutes and no one saw what the Japanese keeper looked like. Our players couldn't shoot, couldn't pass, couldn't defend, and couldn't go 3 milliseconds without losing the ball. Utter humiliation, as this game was 1 goal away from matching China's worst ever defeat. 7-0.
Left, right, center, everywhere he has fucked us! He has fucked us everywhere!
I really woke up at 3 AM for that. In the next game against Saudi Arabia, China took the lead off an own goal. However, the defense once again capitulates as Saudi Arabia score off a corner. Then China bottles it as Saudi Arabia score a late winner off another corner. It wouldn't get any better the next game against Australia as China once again took an early lead. And once again, the midfield and defense would let us down as Australia took care of business in their own backyard. Once again, set pieces proved to be our undoing. This is getting old. Another defeat, this time at the hands of Australia, left Branko Ivankovic's job hanging by a thread. And next up was Indonesia. Finally, things took a turn for the better as China scored 2 first-half goals through Bayram Abdueli and Zhangyu Nunez. Indonesia managed to pull one back late into the match, but played tiki-taka from Tokopedia for the rest of the match, and at long last, China won a game in the third round. Going into the November window, our first game was against Bahrain. Both sides would get their chances, and as the clock wound down, Bahrain scored a late winner. However, it's ruled out for offside, and about 1 minute later, China scored through Zhangyu Nunez. This was honestly my favorite moment of the campaign because in just a few minutes, I went from the lowest of lows to the highest of highs. Next up was our home match against Japan, and although we lost once again, the performance this time was far better than the first game. I realize that's a really low bar to set, but at this point any decent performance against Japan is one I'll happily take. And all of this without top scorer Wu Lei. Going into January, Branko would organize a training camp for the players, including several players who were never called up for the national team. But then the drama came. Fernandinho from Timu threatened to retire from the national team if he wasn't given a lucrative club contract. Both his club and Branko decided to save him some trouble as he was released from his team and Branko never called him up again. Good riddance. The last 2 matches we had were in March against Saudi Arabia and Australia. The match against Saudi Arabia was fairly evenly contested until Lin Young-min got himself sent off for this stupid challenge, and Salam Al-Dazri scored the winner. It could have been far worse though, as Wang Da-lei was the main reason we didn't concede like 4 more. The match against Australia wasn't much better. The Aussies took an early 2-goal lead thanks to Wang Da-onana, and while China showed some fight in the second half, poor finishing let us down, along with some weird team selections.
I am in pain! I am in severe pain!
All of this accumulates in our current predicament. China are eliminated from direct qualification, and to guarantee reaching the 4th round, we have to win both of our final matches. So, how's it looking? There are quite a few notable absentees. Han Jiaqi suffered a long-term injury and will be out until the end of the year, although Branko already had some weird vendetta against him. Han Jiaqi is basically the reason Beijing Guoan's disastrous defense hasn't conceded like 4 goals per game this season. Branko for some reason never calls him up, and now he's gone. Meanwhile, we're left with our usual trio of Unk goalkeepers. Wang Da-lei, who has been kinda inconsistent this season, can't forget his dreadful howler against Australia either. Liu Dianzuo, who basically thrives off Chengdu Rongcheng's defense and is also inexperienced for the national team, and Yan Junling. Chinese Kepa has become one of those players who gets called up based on reputation alone. I gotta wonder, has Branko actually seen his recent performances in the league? He's literally conceded more goals than he made saves. Last window, right-back Gao Junyi played through an injury against Saudi Arabia and got cooked by Al-Dazri. As a result, he was sent home early and recently sustained yet another serious injury, ruling him out for these qualifiers. So, going into this window, China will have 1 right-back and 3 left-backs. To replace Gao Junyi, Branko called up Wang Shiqin, a 21-year-old left-back who has been more or less average for Zhejiang FC. There are some questions about his inexperience. He's never actually played for the senior squad before, but keeping in line with my opinion on giving youth players a chance, I'm gonna say I'm okay with him as a backup. And for a left back, even though Li Lei has been fairly solid, I want Branko to experience more with Hu Hetao, who has been in scintillating form for Chengdu Rongcheng. He's young too, it could be building for the future. This, however, is the worst defensive absence. Jiang Shenglong. This man has been carrying our backline the entire campaign and even done his fair share in attack. Need I remind you, this man assisted our first goal against Indonesia. I mean, we're losing so much now that he's out. Zhu Chenjie returning is basically my only hope left of our defense being at least competent. Midfield. The less said the better. Attacking midfielder Serginho has been doing well for Beijing Guoan. Our main defensive midfielder Wang Shangyuan returns, but if Branko goes with a double pivot, his most likely partner will be Huang Zhengyu, who got bullied against Australia. It ain't looking good. This raises the question, why wasn't Li Yuanyi called up? We're opening this can of worms, are we? So, one of our most informed midfielders, one of the only players we have who can do a decent job at defensive midfield, he's on vacation. And bro isn't even trying to hide it. He straight up posted it on social media. Wang Dalei even commented on it. What's happening? Was there a fallout with Branko or something? I mean, given how badly we lack defensive midfielders, I'd expect Branko to have done everything in his power to keep Li Yuanyi in the team, unless it was something really serious. So, why? Oh, we also called up Yang Mingyang, who has never played for the senior squad before, but is one of the only players in the squad with European experience, and doing pretty decent at club level, although that's partially because Chengdu Rongcheng have just been really good this season. And finally, forwards. Striker Zhang Yuning is finally back to full fitness after playing through injury in both of our previous games, so here's hoping he can find his form again. Winger Wei Shihao has finally found some goal-scoring form this season. He's also an extremely versatile player, being able to play as a winger across the pitch, an attacking midfielder, and even a second striker if needed. Although, one thing that kinda concerns me, which to be fair has been concerning me throughout this entire campaign, is Wei Shihao's long track record of losing his temper. Dumb fouls and nasty tackles galore. I mean, after the nonsense Lin Liangming pulled against Saudi Arabia, the last thing we need is Wei Shihao acting up as well. 18-year-old Liu Chengyu has also been called up. He seems to have learned from the U20 Asian Cup because since filling in as a starter for Shanghai Shenhua, he has 3 goals and 1 assist in 4 appearances. This gives me hope that maybe his finishing is finally improving, so maybe for once we actually have a reliable backup to Zhangyu Nunez. And could it be? God has finally shown mercy. After 8 agonizing months, top scorer Wu Lei is finally back from injury. At last, the king of Chinese football will once more restore the prestige of this national team. Why? So, we finally had our top scorer return. And then, just a few days later, he gets injured again. Colossians chapter 3 verse 25. But he who does wrong will be repaid for what he has done, and there is no partiality. Oh Lord above, what sin did I commit to deserve this? I mean, come on, have we not suffered enough? 8 straight matches without our top scorer, and even Baram Abdueli wasn't called up. I know he's been scoreless this season, but he's still been good for the national team. Who did we even call up in his place? You have got to be kidding!
My world is crumbling around me.
Believe it or not, there is actually a silver lining to this. Because in my opinion, even though we don't have Wu Lei anymore, we do have a replacement. Wang Yudong, star of our U20 Asian Cup campaign. At 18 years old, he's already carrying Zhejiang FC with 8 goals in 12 appearances, quickly becoming the prince of Chinese football. He's already looked promising on his debut against Australia, so Branko, please start him. Without Wu Lei, Wang Yudong is our best replacement. So overall things don't look promising, but is everything hopeless? No. Our opponents are Indonesia, and despite their win against Bahrain, I'm still not convinced by Kluivert ball. I mean, Branko should at the bare minimum be able to tactically outdo Kluivert. On top of that, Indonesia will be playing with a 15% stadium capacity reduction due to their fans' behavior against Bahrain. Hopefully that hampers their home atmosphere, which was the main thing I was worried about, and even though their players are objectively better, that was the case last time and we still won. Who knows? Could go either way, but I'm leaning more towards China winning it. Then we have Bahrain, a home match against a team who we've already beaten. This game should be a win. Should be. So all eyes are on the Indonesia game. Simply put, the Indonesia game is the most important test for us this window. Losing outright would spell elimination on the spot for China, while ideally, we have to win both this match and the next against Bahrain to guarantee a spot in the 4th round. Who knows? Branko frauded his way through the 2nd round when I thought for sure we'd be eliminated. He might do it again. It's not completely hopeless, and while optimism is hard to come by in Chinese football because trust me, this is the funniest league in the world, I'm still going to cheer for this team with all my heart. But what do you think? How are China's hopes for the upcoming window? Who do you think will qualify for the next round? Let me know in the comments. If you like this video, like and subscribe, follow my Instagram and my Twitter, yada yada yada, and I'll see you next time. Take care.